All right. Good afternoon, football fans. Big Al here on this Friday, September 6th, 2024. And welcome back to part 2 of the Week 1 injury report across the NFL. As you saw last night, the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in rather controversial fashion, 27-20. Isaiah Likely caught what would have been the game-tying touchdown with time expired in regulation, but his toe hit the back of the end line, which negated the touchdown, and so Mahomes survived against Lamar Jackson and company. But we're not here to talk about last night. We're here to talk about the present. All right, this is the current injury report entering week 1 for the remaining games on the schedule, and we'll start with an update on the Packers and the Eagles before tonight's tussle down in Brazil. So off we go with the Packers and Eagles updates. We'll start with the Green Bay Packers. All right, linebacker Edgerrin Cooper, wide receiver Romeo Doubs, and cornerback Carrington Valentine were full participants in practice this week, and I think they're all expected to play tonight against Philly. However, tight end Tucker Kraft is questionable with a back injury. He was limited in practice, as was running back Marshawn Lloyd with a hamstring. He's also questionable. And running back Emmanuel Wilson is also questionable with a hip injury. He was also limited in practice. Defensive end Aaron Mosby is ruled out due to personal matters. It's a non-injury related scratch for tonight for Green Bay. Meanwhile, looks like wide receiver A.J. Brown and guard Landon Dickinson for the Eagles will go tonight. Same cannot be said for cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. He's out with a hand injury. And you know about Devin White. The linebacker is out tonight with an ankle injury. He didn't even make the trip down to Brazil with the team. All right, moving to Sunday's games, starting off with the Pittsburgh Steelers at Atlanta Falcons. For the Steelers, defensive end Logan Lee is out with a calf. Guard Isaac Samalu is out with a pectoral injury. And wide receiver Roman Wilson, that's the rookie from Michigan, he's out with an ankle injury. Meanwhile, quarterback Russell Wilson is listed as questionable with a calf. Looks like tackle Troy Fatanu, cornerback Corey Trice Jr., running back Jaylen Warren, and tight end Darnell Washington will all play Sunday against the Falcons. And speaking of the Falcons, they will not have cornerback Antonio Hamilton. He's out with a groin. Linebacker Nate Landman and tight end Kyle Pitts are expected to go. Pitts was a full participant in practice this week. Landstrom was limited. Okay, to the Patriots and the Bengals. Starting off with the New England Patriots. Running back Antonio Gibson is questionable with a hip injury. Then you've got offensive tackle veteran Lowe, Vadarian Lowe, I should say. Sorry about that. He's questionable with an abdomen. Also listed as questionable is linebacker Josh Uche with a foot. They will not have guard City So. He's out with an ankle injury. Meanwhile, linebacker Christian Ellis Tight end Hunter Henry, linebacker Anthony Jennings, cornerback Jonathan Jones, defensive end Dietrich Wise, and linebacker Odani Zimis, I think that is. They're all expected to play on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals as we turn to their injury report. Wide receiver Jamar Chase is questionable. He is resting. It's not injury related. We may see him Sunday. We may not. We shall see. Meanwhile, wide receiver T. Higgins, this is bad news for him. He has a hamstring injury and he's listed as doubtful. Out for Sunday's game against New England are defensive tackle Chris Jenkins for the thumb and offensive tackle Amarius Mims with a pec injury. Okay, on to the Texans and Colts. And not much to talk about here on the injury front. Safety MJ Stewart is out with a knee injury for the Texans. Meanwhile, for Indianapolis, wide receiver Josh Downs is out with an ankle. And kicker Matt Gay with a hernia. He's questionable. Alright, next up is the Vikings-Jets game. We'll start with the Vikings injury report. And not much to talk about here. It looks like wide receivers Jordan Addison and Jalen Naylor will both play, as they were both limited in practice this week. And not much to talk about with the New York Giants. Safety Dane Belton. There you have backup quarterback Drew Lock, linebacker Michael McFadden, and wide receiver Gunnar Olszewski. Looks like they're all ready to go for Sunday. Titans at Bears. Safety Jamal Adams is out with a hip injury. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is questionable with a knee. And linebacker Otis Reese has a concussion. He will not play Sunday. As for the hometown Chicago Bears, there's only one player listed as out, and that's defensive tackle Zach Pickens. He has a groin problem. Wide receiver Keenan Allen is questionable with a heel. Defensive end Montez Sweat with a toe, and defensive end DeMarcus Walker with a groin are both listed as questionable. Meanwhile, Kieran Amagdahay or something, I don't know, he's a tackle. He looks like he's ready to go, as is center Ryan Bates, running back Roschon Johnson, and tight end Mercedes Lewis. Alright, on to the Cardinals and the Bills, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals. Wide receiver Xavier Weaver is out with an oblique injury. Safety Joey Blount is questionable with a back. And tight end Tip Ryman is questionable with an ankle. Alright, for the Bills, defensive end Javon Solomon will not play. He's out with an oblique. Meanwhile, safety Cole Bishop, tight end Quentin Morris, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, and quarterback Mitch Trubisky. Looks like they're all ready to go to face the Cardinals Sunday afternoon. Panthers at Saints. We'll start with the Panthers. Tackle Yash Neiman is questionable with a tibia. Tight end Ian Thomas is out with a calf injury. Tight end Tommy Tremble is also out. He has a hamstring and a back. Cornerback Troy Hill and running back Miles Sanders looks like they're pretty much set. For the New Orleans Saints, and this is an extensive list here. Linebacker Jalen Ford is out with a hamstring. Linebacker Willie Gay is questionable with a back. Tight end Dallin Holker is out with an ankle. Linebacker DeMarco Jackson also out with a calf. Wide receiver A.T. Perry with a hand. And guard Nick Sadaveri are both questionable. Sadaveri has a calf injury. Defensive tackle Kalen Saunders is out with a calf. And it looks like cornerback Marshawn Lattimore is all set to go against the Panthers, as is linebacker Pete Werner. On to the Jaguars and the Dolphins. We talked about this injury yesterday while we were looking at the Ravens and Chiefs. Safety Daniel Thomas is questionable with an Achilles injury. That's the only player listed on the report for Jacksonville. For Miami, cornerback Jalen Ramsey is questionable with a hamstring. And wide receiver Malik Washington will not play against the Jaguars with a quadricep injury. We got a bunch of players listed on the injury report, and it looks like they're all set for the season opener, including offensive tackle Terron Armstead, linebacker Quentin Bell, guard Aaron Brewer, defensive end Calais Campbell, cornerback Kendall Fuller, safety Javon Holland, defensive tackle Benito Jones, linebackers David Long and Jalen Phillips, safety Jordan Poyer, and linebacker Anthony Walker. Moving on to the Broncos at the Seahawks. We'll start with Denver's injury report. Tight end Pharaoh Brown is out with a foot injury. Wide receiver... there are no injuries for the Denver Broncos. Sorry about that. There are no injuries reported for the Broncos. For the Seahawks, tight end Pharaoh Brown is out with a foot. Wide receiver Tyler Lockett is questionable with a thigh. And linebacker Uchenna Nwosu is out with a knee. Tight end Noah Fant, safety Rayshawn Jenkins, and linebacker Draymond Jones. Looks like they're ready to go for that game on Sunday. On to the Raiders at the Chargers. Linebacker Tommy Eichenberg, is questionable with a knee. Defensive end Malcolm Kuntz is out with a knee. Offensive guard Jackson Powers Johnson is out due to illness. And cornerback Marion Richardson, he's out with a hamstring. Everyone else is set, including long snapper Jacob Moyer, tight end Brock Bowers, tackle Colton Miller, linebacker Robert Spillane, and defensive end Tyree Wilson. For the LA Chargers, wide receiver DJ Chark will not play. He's out with a hip injury. Tarheeb Still, he's a cornerback. He's also has a hip problem. He's questionable. Looks like quarterback Justin Herbert, who injured his foot during training camp, and wide receiver Josh Palmer, they're all set to go. All right, on to the Cowboys at the Browns. We'll start with Dallas. One major name is tight end John Stevens Jr. He's out with a hamstring, but everyone else is all set, including cornerback Kalen Carson, linebacker Damone Clark, defensive end Marshawn Nealon, safety Israel Mukuwamu, defensive tackle Mozzie Smith, and safety Juanye Thomas. And for the Cleveland Browns, offensive tackle Jack Conklin is questionable with a knee, while their other tackle Jedrick Wills, he will not play. He also has a knee problem. Wide receiver David Bell, linebacker Jordan Hicks, defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, defensive end Quentin Jefferson, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, linebacker Nathaniel Wilson, and defensive end Alex Wright. Looks like they're all given the green light to play in Week 1. Commanders at Buccaneers. We'll start with Washington. Quarterback Marcus Mariota is out with a chest and a pec injury. Defensive tackle Jerhan Newton is doubtful with a foot. Everyone else is getting the green light, including offensive tackle Brandon Coleman, defensive end Zellen Farrell, linebacker Dante Fowler Jr., defensive tackle Deron Payne, and offensive tackle Trent Scott. For Tampa Bay, defensive end Logan Hall is out with a foot injury. Wide receiver Trey Palmer is questionable with a concussion. Everyone else looks pretty good to go, including defensive end Ernest Brown IV, linebackers Savathia Dennis and Yaya Diaby, quarterback Tyler Funderburk, cornerback Josh Hayes, place kicker Chase McLaughlin, safety Kevion Merriweather, linebacker J.J. Russell, offensive tackle Justin Scully, linebacker Joe Tryon Shoyenka, and safety Jordan Whitehead. On to Sunday Night Football. You've got the Rams at the Lions. We'll start with the visiting Rams first. Offensive tackle Rob Havenstein is questionable with an ankle. Everyone else is getting the green light, including cornerback Kobe Durant, offensive guard Jonah Jackson, wide receiver Puka Nacua, and cornerback Darius Williams. Meanwhile, for the Lions, safety Ifeatu Melifonwu is doubtful with an ankle. Defensive tackle DJ Reader is questionable with a quadricep. And safety Lawrence Strickland is out with a thumb. And finally, for Monday Night Football, the Jets at the 49ers. Will begin with the New York Jets first. Looks like everyone's good to go, including cornerback Jarrett Bernard Converse, offensive tackle Max Mitchell, guards Xavier Newman Johnson and Wes Swashler. I hope I got his name right. Offensive tackle Tyron Smith, and wide receiver Mike Williams. And nothing to talk about with the San Francisco 49ers at this time. Looks like everyone's getting the green light unless something changes. On the list, you have offensive guard Aaron Banks, linebacker Tatum Bethune, offensive guard Spencer Burford, defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos, running back Isaac Garendo, safety Talanoa Hufanga, wide receiver Jawan Jennings, running back Christian McCaffrey, linebacker D. Winters, and punter Mitch Wisnowski. And that is a look at the injury report across the National Football League entering week number 1. We'll update the Niners and Jets on Monday afternoon prior to their game. So be on the lookout for that. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out. Peace out.